I think that's it for announcements, and now on with the show. So can I invite our first panelists to come up and take their seats up here? I will briefly introduce them. You have their bios, and I hope you'll refer to them, and then we'll turn it over to them. So I'll go in order across. Lisa Colton is the founder and president of Darim Online, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping Jewish organizations thrive in the digital age. And together with Karen Levine, who's also here with us, Lisa and Karen were our two primary consultants on the JE3 project, so they've been working with us on this for a couple of years. She's a graduate of Stanford, Leave Notally, Hibanot, and Pardes, and you can read more about her awards, etc. Meredith Lewis is the managing editor of MyJewishLearning.com. She has an MA in Hebrew and Judaic Studies and an MPA in Nonprofit Finance from New York University. I guess they're expecting you to figure out how to turn a profit with MyJewishLearning.com. And Dan Saratsky, who goes under a number of aliases, is an interdisciplinary artist, documentarian, investigating, I love this, post-normative forms of Jewish cultural expression. We have to give Dan a mazel tov on 2 counts, though he says he knew it for a while. We learned today that he is one of the grantees from ROI for one of his numerous projects, Jew It Yourself, and also he revealed that he is getting married this summer, so mazel tov to you. This first panel focuses on the question sort of, where are we today in terms of the intersection of technology and Jewish learning, and we've posed a number of questions to the panelists to think about, but to guide the discussion, but not to dictate it, to look at how we're doing. What are some of the achievements that we can take the greatest pride in over the last number of years? What are some of the areas where perhaps we are not yet where we should be and want to be in terms of the use of technology for Jewish learning? And we're going to ask each of them to speak for 10 minutes, and I didn't make up signs that I'm supposed to hold up in the back of the room, but I may whisper to you when you approach the end. And then, as I said, we're going to throw it open. Let me finally welcome Professor Dr. Stephen M. Cohen, the director of the Global Jewish Policy Archive, among many other things in Jewish life. One of my most treasured teachers and colleagues. So, Lisa, I guess you will kick it off, or did you agree on a different order? No, you didn't. Okay, great. Thank you. Take it away.
All right. As a non-New Yorker, I don't know if everybody else is New York, but it's really exciting to be here with all of these people in the same room together. I know many of them individually, but I rarely see everybody again. So I concur with it matters to gather people together in person. Let's see, where to begin. How well is the potential of technology being realized today? In general, I would say very little. So I think that this conversation is really important. I get people calling all the time who say, oh, I just got a donor to give us $25,000. Oh, thank you. Somebody just gave us $25,000 and we built this amazing computer lab. What do we do with it? Right? Which makes me cringe, because the goal is not technology, the goal is learning, and the subject of the sentence is people. So if you're not really thinking in that order, then we're destined to miss the mark. So I think that we have to remove technology as the subject of the sentence in some way, and really look at it as many tools in the way that we do our work and achieve our goals. Excellent. Okay. So the analogy that I bring up here is the newspaper industry to some degree. That the newspaper industry did what they knew how to do really well and successfully, and it's a very important piece of our society. Took technology, plopped it on top, put all their articles online, and it's not all that different and definitely not a successful business model. And so what I think we need to do is think strategic level about what the presence of technology in our society and in our organizations and for all of our parents and students in our community, to think strategically about what that means and how we might reorganize the way we do things to achieve the same goals with this audience in a new generation. So I think there definitely are bright spots that are happening. I think we're going to hear some of those here. There's 2 or 3 that I just sort of want to highlight, not necessarily for the specific example, but for the concept that it illustrates. So one is creative uses of blogs in schools. I'm seeing many schools, this is from a preschool blog, but also from elementary, middle, and high school, both in day school settings and in supplementary, complementary settings, where it's not just showing what's happening in the school, but actually breaking down the walls of the classroom and making more permeable the boundaries of the institution in order to reinforce that learning at home and to get it out of the classroom in some interesting ways. So this is just an example of how, while most of the posts are about content and experiences going on in the school, here's a post from an educator teaching families how to go do a walk Jewishly for Tu B'Shvat with their families over the week they aren't in school. Another example of this, we had a covenant-funded project to work with congregational educators. One of those educators created a very simple online magazine on a WordPress site to have the students in his class post content about the parasha every week and create this magazine basically online. So instead of them being passive recipients, they were active creators of the content. That's a very different style of learning. Also requires a very different style of teaching, and I think that's going to be a hallmark of things. We already see it starting to happen with creative educators. And the technology there is very simple and free. Another piece that I just want to mention is mobile stuff, which I was at another session with Michael Levine, who works at the Cooney Center with the Sesame Workshop a couple weeks ago, and he taught me this term, which I think is fascinating, which is the pass-back generation. Right? So I'm driving, and I've got 2 young kids, this is true, in the back seat, and they want to be entertained while we're on a long drive, and I use my iPhone, and I pass it back. Right? That's the pass-back generation. And I can pass it back, and my kid can be watching, you know, Diego or Dora or an episode of Star Wars, or practicing the 4 questions. Right? And this is real. Like in the weeks leading up to Passover, my 5-year-old had my iPhone and was listening to Hebrew to learn the 4 questions before Pesach. So taking into account how both students and parents are organizing their lives and what their patterns of behavior are, and instead of requiring them to come to us and to fit into our codes and structures, how can we understand their modes of operation and their structures better and designed for that? I frankly think that that's floating downstream rather than trying to make ourselves swim upstream, and ultimately we'll be more successful and more efficient. I think one of the biggest impacts to take into account is how people access information. And I really like how John just talked about the difference between flow of knowledge and stores of information. We have stores of information, tons of them. And if you ask kids how they answer questions or solve problems, they go to Google, and their 2 biggest sources, or the top 2 or 3 things on Google and Wikipedia. It is usually one of those top ones. So if we have students, children, adults, who are asking good questions, they can find the informational answers to those questions online. So then it begs the question, what are our institutions and what are our teachers for? Right? If the information is there, it's not locked in a book and it's not locked away in a scholar. What do we want books for? What do we want scholars and teachers for? And how can we make the best use of the resources that are available? I put this up just to show, I just searched Shavuot this morning, right, to see what comes up. So Wikipedia, number 1, Chabad, YouTube, really important that YouTube's there. People are learning a lot. Jewish Virtual Library, Hillel, Under the Fold, Aish, URJ, Torah Tots, and My Jewish Learning. Right? So this is where people are getting their content.